A messed up world, a messed up society, and messed up ideals. It was all so ridiculous. Killing each other in the underworld for survival, for supplies. Was that how humanity always was? No. A few centuries ago, people used to live freely, under leaders who couldn't overexert their power, without having to learn to fight for entertainment's sake, each match potentially being your last. If only I had been born in a different world, a different era. I looked down at the vibroblade still implanted inside my body and sighed. I could feel my eyelids growing heavy, dying at the age of 18. Pretty pitiful. Hey, my final moments were spent regretfully condemning the position I found myself in as I escaped this cruel world and joined the endless void. Ah, looks like I messed up, I thought as I coughed weakly, blood spurting out of my mouth and spewing out uncontrollably from the wound in my gut. I sat against the cold concrete wall of the arena. The undefeated champion had finally fought his last fight. Well, almost endless. The darkness that enveloped me began to recede, replaced by a soft, warm light. My eyes fluttered open, adjusting to the brightness. I was lying in a plush bed, the sheets impossibly soft against my skin. Sunlight streamed through a large window, illuminating a room that was clean, modern, and utterly unfamiliar. There was no smell of rust and decay, only the faint scent of flowers from a vase on the nightstand. I sat up, my hand instinctively going to my gut. Nothing, no wound, no pain, not even a scar. My clothes were different too, a simple white shirt and comfortable pants. Not the tattered combat gear I'd worn my whole life. A woman with a kind face entered the room, carrying a tray. She smiled gently when she saw I was awake. "Oh, you're up." I was worried. "You've been unconscious for 3 days." She placed the tray on the bed. It held a bowl of steaming soup and a glass of water. "You must be hungry." I stared at her, my mind reeling. Was this some kind of trick? An elaborate illusion before the final blow? I scanned the room for hidden cameras, for any sign of the arena masters, but found none. The woman's concern seemed genuine. "Where am I?" I asked, my voice raspy. "You're in the city of Ethelgard. My son found you collapsed in the forest, just outside the city walls." Forest, city walls. These terms were foreign relics from the history vids they showed us before the fights. The world outside the arena was supposed to be a wasteland. The wasteland, I ventured. She looked confused. "Wasteland, my dear. The world is lush and green. There are no wastelands for thousands of miles." She placed a cool hand on my forehead. "You must have hit your head hard. Don't worry, you're safe here. Safe." The word echoed in my mind, a concept I'd never truly known. Over the next few days, the woman, Ilara, and her son, Kale, nursed me back to health. I learned that this world was peaceful. There were no arenas, no forced combat. People worked, they laughed, they lived without the constant fear of death hanging over their heads. It was everything I had ever dreamed of. But was it real? I couldn't shake the feeling that this was all a dying dream, a final fantasy my mind had concocted before the end. One evening, Kale took me to the city square. It was bustling with people, street performers juggling lights, vendors selling sweet-smelling food, children laughing as they chased each other. There were no armed guards, no tension in the air. Just life. Kale noticed my bewildered expression. "It's a lot to take in, isn't it?" he said with a grin. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I didn't know how to respond. How could I explain that I was the ghost, a visitor from a world of brutal death. That night, as I lay in bed, the memories of the arena flooded back. The roar of the crowd, the clash of steel, the coppery taste of blood. I could almost feel the phantom pain in my guts. I sat up, drenched in a cold sweat. Was I going crazy? Or had I truly been given a second chance? The next morning, I decided I had to know for sure. I found Kale in the training yard behind their house. He was practicing with a wooden sword, his movements fluid and graceful. It wasn't the desperate, killer-be-killed style I knew. It was a dance, an art form. "Teach me," I said, my voice firm. He looked surprised. "Teach you? I thought you weren't a fighter." "I'm not," I replied. "But I need to understand. I need to know if this is real." He hesitated, then tossed me a wooden sword. The weight felt familiar, yet completely different. We sparred. My old instincts kicked in every move designed to maim, to end the fight as quickly as possible. But Kale just parried, his style defensive and precise. He wasn't trying to hurt me. He was just training. After a few minutes, I dropped my sword, breathing heavily. It was real. The feel of the wood, the strain in my muscles, the earnest look in Kale's eyes. This wasn't a dream. I had somehow escaped my hellish reality and landed in a paradise. Tears welled up in my eyes, tears of relief, of confusion, of gratitude. I looked at my hands, not scarred and calloused from a lifetime of killing, but clean and whole. For the first time, I felt hope. I had a new life, a chance to be more than just a champion of a forgotten arena. I was finally free.
A tiny white spot glinted in the distance, illuminating the dark space. It seemed to grow, slowly expanding, lighting up the void in a brilliant, pure white light. I squinted, or at least I thought I did. Could I even squint? I didn't know what I was, or what form I had taken, but the dazzling light hurt my eyes. Maybe that was a sign? Maybe it meant I was alive, some kind of life form, perhaps. Just as the thought crossed my mind, my ears started echoing with a strange, eerie sound. Suddenly, I felt a powerful jerk, pulling me from the void. Color began to seep into the world around me, slowly at first, then all at once. My eyes struggled to adjust to the intense brightness, such a stark contrast to the endless black hole I had just been floating in. "Congratulations, it's a healthy baby boy," a female voice exclaimed from somewhere just outside my line of sight. I looked around, completely dumbfounded. A baby boy. Was she talking about me? I tried to communicate, to ask what was happening, but words wouldn't escape my mouth. No matter how hard I tried, all that came out were garbled noises. It seemed the only thing I could do was analyze my surroundings. My gaze settled on the person holding me. Right in front of me was a stunning woman. She had silky, long brown hair that cascaded over her shoulders, and her stunning green eyes sparkled like emeralds. She radiated a warmth I had never felt before, a gentle, comforting presence that just drew you in. Her naturally colored lips shimmered in the light of the evening sun, as luminescent rays spread across the small wooden room. The light made her look like an angel. I could almost see the halo floating just above her head. Without thinking, I reached out to her with my small hand, wanting to touch this divine being. As my hand moved forward, another hand, larger and warmer, slowly enveloped mine. Looking up, I saw a man standing beside her. He had short, spiky black hair and piercing blue eyes that held a mix of joy and relief. A warm, gentle smile played on his lips. His features were rugged yet handsome, and he carried a calming, protective aura. "He's perfect," he whispered, his voice deep and full of emotion. He leaned down and kissed the woman on her forehead before turning his attention back to me. "Welcome to the world, little guy. We're your parents." Parents? The word felt foreign, yet it resonated deep within me. This woman, my mother, and this man, my father. They looked at me with so much love, it was overwhelming. I felt a sense of belonging, a feeling of being wanted that I had never experienced. My new mother rocked me gently in her arms, humming a soft, sweet lullaby. The melody was simple, but it was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. It washed over me, calming the confusion and fear that had been swirling inside. For the first time, I felt safe. I felt at peace. I nestled closer to her, soaking in her warmth, letting the rhythmic rocking and her gentle humming lull me into a state of pure contentment. The room, though small and simple, felt like a sanctuary. It was filled with a love so palpable you could almost touch it. The wooden walls seemed to glow, and the soft blankets I was wrapped in felt like a cloud. My father placed a hand on my head, his touch incredibly gentle. "What should we name him, Alara?" he asked, his voice filled with tenderness. My mother, Alara, looked down at me, her green eyes filled with an unreadable emotion.
Rael,
she said softly, the name flowing from her lips like a melody. His name will be Rael. Rael, that was my name now. It felt right. As they spoke, I looked from one loving face to the other. I may not have known how I got here or what I was before, but in this moment, none of that mattered. I had a family. I had a name. I was Rael. Over the next few days, I slowly grew accustomed to my new life. My world was small, consisting mainly of this cozy wooden room, the comforting presence of my parents, and the cycle of sleeping, eating, and observing. I was completely dependent on them, a strange and humbling experience. I learned the sounds of their footsteps, the cadence of their voices, and the feel of their touch. My mother's hands were soft and delicate, while my father's were strong and calloused, yet both held me with the same unwavering gentleness. They would talk to me for hours, telling me about the world outside our little home. They described the towering trees of the forest that surrounded our cabin, the sparkling river that flowed nearby, and the village that lay a short distance away. My father, whose name I learned was Kale, was a woodsman. He would leave early in the morning with his axe and return in the evening, smelling of pine and fresh earth. My mother, Alara, was a healer. She tended to a small garden just outside, growing herbs and flowers with magical properties. Her knowledge of plants was vast, and she would often bring them inside, filling the room with fragrant aromas. One afternoon, Alara was brewing a potion, grinding herbs with a mortar and pestle. The air was thick with the scent of lavender and chamomile. I watched, fascinated, as she chanted softly, her words weaving a subtle magic that made the mixture glow with a faint silvery light. Kyle came in, carrying a basket of wild berries. "For my two favorite people," he said with a grin, placing a juicy berry on Alara's lips before offering one to me. I couldn't eat it, of course, but the gesture was filled with so much affection that my heart swelled. They were so in love, and I was the center of their world. This life was a stark contrast to the empty void I came from. There was color, there was warmth, there was love. As weeks turned into months, I began to understand more of their language. My baby brain was like a sponge, soaking up every word, every inflection. I learned that they lived a simple life, away from the hustle and bustle of larger towns. They valued nature, family, and the quiet magic that permeated the world around them. They were content, and their contentment was infectious. I found myself letting go of the lingering questions about my past existence. What did it matter who I was before? This was my reality now, and it was a beautiful one. One evening, as the sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Alara took me outside for the first time. The air was crisp and cool. She held me close as we stood on the small porch, looking out at the vast expanse of the forest. The trees stood like silent giants, their leaves rustling in the gentle breeze. The sound was like a whisper, a secret shared between the earth and the sky. Fireflies began to appear, their tiny lights blinking on and off, creating a mesmerizing dance in the twilight. My father joined us, wrapping his arms around my mother and me, creating a warm cocoon of love and safety. "Look, Rael," he said, his voice a low rumble. "This is your home." And in that moment, looking out at the enchanted forest under the twilight sky, held securely in the arms of the two people who loved me more than anything, I knew he was right. I didn't know what destiny had in store for me, or what challenges I would face in this new world. But for now, I was home. The void was a distant memory, a forgotten dream. This was my life, and I was ready to live it. I closed my eyes, not in sleep, but in pure, unadulterated happiness, the gentle sounds of the forest, and the steady beat of my mother's heart, being the only lullaby I needed. This was just the beginning of my story, the first chapter in the life of Rael. Imagine being reborn, but with all the memories of a past life, a life filled with hardship and survival. That's exactly where our story begins. Our main character, Jay, opens his eyes for the first time. The first thing he hears is a soft whisper. "Hi, Jay." It's his new mother, her voice tired but full of love. Beside her stands a man, his father, completely captivated, his eyes full of tears. "Welcome, buddy," he says, his voice thick with emotion. Jay observes them, these two people who are now his parents. His mother, Jane, has a gentle and sweet aura. His father, Bruce, seems mischievous yet gallant, a perfect contrast. They fit together like a perfect puzzle, and Jay can already feel the warmth and love in this new family. But this isn't just a heartwarming family moment. Jay's mind is racing. He remembers his past. He remembers a place he calls Earth, a world of endless torture where he had to fight and kill just to survive. This new life, this peaceful room, this loving family, it's everything he wished for. A wave of gratitude washes over him, so powerful he wants to cry out and thank the universe, but as a newborn, all he can do is feel it. He escaped. This is a new chance, a new start, a new beginning. He knows he'll carry the scars of his past with him forever, but here, in this moment, he is reborn. As Jay takes in his new surroundings, he immediately starts noticing things that are different from his old world. The details are subtle at first, but they point to a reality that is fundamentally different from the Earth he knew. What are these differences? How will his past experiences shape his new life as Jay Cadmium? This isn't just about being a baby. It's about a seasoned survivor navigating a world he knows nothing about, with the mind of a warrior and the body of an infant. The story sets up so many intriguing questions. Will Jay be able to live a normal life, or will his past catch up to him? What kind of world has he been born into? Is it a peaceful world, or does it have its own dangers lurking beneath the surface? The contrast between his parents' auras, gentle versus mischievous, might hint at the dual nature of this new reality. Perhaps it's a world of both light and shadow, and Jay, with his unique background, is perfectly suited to navigate it. Think about the psychological weight on him. He carries the trauma of a brutal past, but he's been given this incredible gift of a loving family. How does he reconcile these two realities? Will he be protective of his new family, using his past knowledge to shield them from any potential harm? Or will he try to forget everything and just embrace his new childhood? The fact that he can't even cry suggests a level of emotional control, or perhaps emotional exhaustion, far beyond that of a normal baby. This story also plays with the classic reincarnation trope in a fresh way. It's not about a hero being summoned to defeat a demon king, at least not yet. It's a deeply personal story about a second chance. It's about healing, or at least the possibility of it. The name cadmium is interesting too. It's a chemical element, which could be a hint about the world system. Maybe it's based on alchemy or some unique science. The potential for character development is immense. We'll get to see Jay grow up, his adult mind clashing with his child's body. Imagine him trying to communicate complex thoughts and warnings through baby babbles. The frustration, the humor, the quiet observations, it's a gold mine for storytelling. We'll also see his relationship with his parents evolve. Will they ever find out who their son truly is? How would they react to knowing their baby boy is an old, battle-hardened soul from another world? This setup is a fantastic hook. It combines heartfelt emotion with a deep sense of mystery and foreboding. We're happy for Jay's new beginning, but we're also on the edge of our seats, waiting to see what challenges this new world will throw at him. His past life made him a survivor, and it's likely those skills will be tested again. The story isn't just about being reborn. It's about what you do with that second chance. It's about whether you can truly start over when your past is an inescapable part of who you are. What do you guys think? What kind of world do you predict Jay has been born into? A magical fantasy realm, a technologically advanced society, or something else entirely? Let me know your theories in the comments below. I'm really excited to see where this journey takes us. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more story explorations. See you in the next one. The first thing that hits them isn't some grand prophecy or a system window popping up, but the simple, undeniable feel of the era. People are riding in carriages, and the lamps aren't lit by oil or gas, but by some kind of magic. And that's the big reveal, the one thing our protagonist, despite being mentally prepared for almost anything, thought was just too far-fetched. Magic is real in this world. I love this detail because it shows a character who is logical and calculating, yet even they can be blindsided by the sheer wonder of a new reality. They admit they miscalculated, and this small moment of vulnerability makes them instantly relatable. Now, here's where the story gets really clever and a little bit funny. Our hero is in a new body, an infant's body, which is, as they put it, extremely limiting. But this doesn't stop them. They're a true information sponge, learning about this fascinating new world by listening to adults, crawling around exploring, and most importantly, reading books scattered around the house. Imagine this baby, barely able to move, secretly devouring knowledge from towering bookshelves. This is where we meet Jane, who I assume is the mother or a caretaker. She finds our little genius in the office, surrounded by books. Her reaction is just perfect. She softly says, "Jay, you're back in the office. You should be asleep, honey." It's such a gentle, loving reprimand. Jane picks up the baby, pulling them away from a massive encyclopedia. That sweet, sweet source of knowledge, just out of reach. The frustration must be real. And then she says something that just highlights the absurdity of the situation. I don't think it is normal for kids to be reading encyclopedias at 4 months old, you know? She tickles the baby, laughing, completely unaware that this isn't just a gifted child, but a fully conscious adult mind trapped in a tiny body. This scene is a brilliant mix of humor and a bit of tragedy for our protagonist. They are so close to understanding everything, yet held back by the simple fact that they're a baby. The world's secrets are right there, but so is playtime. Despite this intense game of chase with Jane, our protagonist has already managed to absorb a huge amount of information. And the world they're discovering is epic. It's not just a little bit of magic, it's the whole fantasy package. Elves, dwarves, dragons, knights, mages, elemental powers, even lost magic, the works. The protagonist catalogs all of this in terms they're familiar with, which is a great way for us, the audience, to quickly grasp the scale of this new world. It sets the stage for an incredible adventure. We're left with this tantalizing glimpse of a rich, deep world, filled with classic fantasy elements that promise conflict, discovery, and epic quests. So, what do we have here? We have a highly intelligent and adaptable protagonist who has been reborn into a classic fantasy world. They have the mind of an adult, but the body of an infant, creating a unique and often humorous set of challenges. The central conflict right now isn't some dark lord. It's as a battle between the desperate need to learn about this magical world and the physical limitations of being a baby, including a loving mother who just wants them to be a normal kid. This setup is fantastic. It builds suspense and anticipation. We want to see what happens when Jay can finally walk and talk freely. What will they do with all the knowledge they've secretly gathered? How will they navigate a world with elves and dragons when they can barely escape a tickle attack? The potential for this story is massive. Will Jay become a powerful mage, using their advanced knowledge from a past life? Or maybe a strategist, using their intellect to navigate the politics between dwarves and elves? The mention of lost magic is particularly exciting. It suggests ancient secrets and forgotten powers perfect for our knowledge-hungry hero to rediscover. Imagine them, once they're older, uncovering spells or histories that no one else in this world even remembers. They could fundamentally change the course of history. And what about Jane? Right now, she's a loving, slightly comedic obstacle. But how will her role evolve? When will she realize her child is different? The dynamic between them could become incredibly compelling. Will she be frightened, or will she become her child's greatest ally? The story has so many paths it could take, and every single one sounds amazing. It blends that familiar comfort of a fantasy setting with a really unique and personal struggle for the main character. It's a story about grand adventure, but it starts with the small, relatable challenge of just trying to read a book when you're supposed to be napping. I'm genuinely hooked. The author has done an amazing job of setting up a fascinating world and an even more fascinating protagonist in just a few paragraphs. The tone is perfect, a mix of wonder, slight frustration, and humor. It makes you feel like you're right there with Jay, experiencing this strange new life. You want to root for this baby genius to outsmart their caretaker and get back to the library. It's a testament to good writing when you're this invested in a character's immediate, small-scale goals, knowing they are the building blocks for a much larger, epic journey. What do you all think? What kind of path do you see our hero Jay taking? Are you team mage, knight, or something else entirely? Thanks for watching. and I'll see you in the next one. Over here, it seemed like every unique concept had its own special word. But thankfully, most of them weren't too complicated. I was able to grasp them fairly easily, which was a relief. In terms of just surviving, becoming what they called a binder allowed me to earn a decent income and even gain some reputation. When I think about how hard it was to get either of those in my old world, I was just glad it wouldn't be as much of a struggle this time around. The concept of binding seemed a lot like controlling mana or energy, just like in the fantasy stories I'd read before. I never read those for pleasure, not really. My goal was always to know as much as possible about a wide range of scenarios. It was a habit that had saved my skin on more than one occasion, and I was definitely grateful for that prior knowledge right now. It gave me a foundation to build on. I even heard there were special schools just for binders, places where they could focus on practicing spells and improving their binding skills. It was an entire established system. One day, while I was deep in a book, the office door creaked open. "Hey bud, you here reading again?" Bruce asked as he walked in. I'd basically taken over this place, only leaving to eat and sleep. I just looked up at my father and gave a little nod. A huge grin spread across his face. 6 months old and you can already understand me. You're definitely my son, all right? He cried out, laughing. He scooped me up into his arms and spun me around playfully. I could see this burning pride in his eyes, like he was witnessing the birth of something truly extraordinary, and maybe he was. "Hun, are you sure we should encourage this?" My mother's voice cut in, tinged with worry. "I don't see anything wrong with it, but it just seems—" She trailed off. I understood her fear. They were probably expecting a loud, energetic child, a miniature version of Bruce. Instead, they got a quiet, passive baby who preferred reading books meant for 30-year-old men. She paused, then added sarcastically while swiping me from Bruce's hands. Or maybe he just developed that natural intellect from his mother. She held me close, her expression a mix of confusion and affection. This new life was strange, but it was clear they loved me, even if they didn't understand me. And for now, that was more than enough.